Thanks for tuning in for another edition of Who's Hitting Gems podcast. I'm your host, David Jones. I want to thank everybody for tuning in as usual. Episode 54, we're starting to get up there a little bit. Tonight's guest, we got a nice lineup as usual. Boy, we went out a little far and above this time. We have Coach Amy Donovan from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. When we first connected, I was like, oh, this is going to be really good because I know people are going to be like, Alaska, and she's from the lower 48, but we're going to talk about the program since she's newly hired. And for people that are not familiar with Alaska Fairbanks, this will be your opportunity to get familiar with the program. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great, David. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. What led you to Alaska Fairbanks?
You know, that's a big question, right? As your coaching career goes, a lot of times things come out of nowhere for you. I'm originally from the Northwest. You know, I grew up in Washington State, in Southwest Washington, so closer to Portland. So I had familiarity with the GNAC, with the conference from growing up. I had quite a few high school teammates actually, and high school peers go to the schools in the conference: Western Washington, St. Martin's, Central Washington, all of those schools. And I actually had a high school teammate who coached at Concordia in Oregon, which was in the conference before that school shut down a couple years ago. And so I had this familiarity with the conference. And then on top of it, you know, I've had kind of an interesting coaching path. I started as a high school coach. And I think if anyone had told me that nobody likes to be a substitute teacher, that's probably what I'd still be doing. I'd be a teacher and a coach. Mm-hmm. But from there, you know, I went to University of Washington to be a GA, was a high school head coach in Seattle, you know, been at Northern Arizona University, been a head coach at Shoreline Community College in Seattle, went back down to the Big Sky and was at Weber State. But one of the things that as I've gone through my career has been just wanting to find a place where I can have a positive impact on people. And so when this job opened up, you know, it was a conversation I had with my head coach at Weber State of, you know, I think this could be a good fit. You know, I think I'm the right type of person to take on the adventure of Alaska. You know, maybe I'm a little bit overly confident because I haven't been here for a winter yet, but it really was about not anything to do with the level, but about, you know, I think I'm ready to take that next step and go be an NCAA head coach. And here's an opportunity where I felt really comfortable with the people that I met throughout my interview process. I feel really confident about the direction that our athletic director is moving the whole department. And so it just felt kind of like a perfect everything coming together for me to feel really excited to have this opportunity.
Absolutely. I like you said, adventurous is an understatement. Had you ever been to Alaska before this?
So I'd been to Alaska twice. When I was at Shoreline Community College, there's a high school coach in Anchorage who puts together a really cool event for the NWAC schools up in the Northwest.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
For them to go up and recruit high school athletes. So I'd been there for work, right? Which, you know, then you're just seeing a gym, really. You're not doing a lot. And then a couple of years ago, actually, when I was working at Weber State, I took a vacation in the summer to go up to Anchorage with my family. So I hadn't been to Fairbanks, though, other than my interview.
So let me ask this, and we touched on it a little bit, you know, backstage. This is going to be totally different for you from a recruitment standpoint. You know, some kids are going to be, quite honestly, afraid to come to Alaska. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some families that may be interested and say, hey, why not? Especially if this is a good opportunity. So when you say, hey, I'm Coach Donovan from Alaska Fairbanks, has it been a warm reception, or what has it been for you to get in the lower 48? Because I can't even say I don't know how high school basketball is in Alaska, so I couldn't tell you.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely different. I think that's the key word. I wouldn't even compare it as better, worse, easier, harder. But I'm new, you know, so there's that. But I think one of the things that's been really interesting as I took this job, right, about 5 weeks ago is when I started remotely. I've been in Alaska for 3 weeks. As coaches know, if you're not recruiting every day, it's like ball handling. You're not doing a good job. You're losing. And so as I've been doing this and as I've been getting on the phone, our first priority has been the 2022 class. We need to add a few players. And so that's been, I think, a little different than what my overall experience will be, because I've been really diving in on junior college players, because, those are players that have proven college stats. I can reach out to their coach. I've got film. It's a lot easier than just trying to dive in on high schoolers or even in the transfer portal. And so that, I think the response rate has been really high. Those players are interested. They've done the college experience. They've done, I think of JUCO, having had the experience myself, they've been in the grind. So I think those players are people who hear Alaska or Alaska Fairbanks and they're like, oh, that's D2. That's cool. Because they've already done the JUCO grind.
Or JUCO grind. Yeah.
Yeah, they've done that. I think what will be different as I have, expanded into the 2023, the 2024 class, because we hit June 15th, so I could start contacting those 24s, has been people are more willing to tell you no than they've been in other places I've worked and I've coached and recruited at. I alluded to it when we were talking backstage. It's the number of times I've been at a D1 and talking to a kid that's a stretch for us at a mid-major, that they're like, no, coach, I love hearing about Weber, Dame. I love watching Dame and I could be the next Dame. And then I'm like, you have an offer from USC, so we're trying to get through our list and go, how can we stretch and get a great kid? How can we build that relationship, but also be realistic? That's been my experience as a D1 assistant at times. And here, man, they are not shy. I had a 2024, it's June 20th. So on June 15th, I texted, hey, this is Coach AD. I'm the coach at University of Alaska Fairbanks. Would love to get on a call with you and chat about our program a little bit. And I got a text back that said, hey, coach, thanks so much. I'm not interested in going to Alaska. If we're in coaching and we're afraid to be told no, you're not going to do a good job. So it's just mark them off. On to the next one. So I think it's definitely going to be really different, but I already used the word adventure and adventurous. Those type of people are out there. And so it's going to be casting that wide net, being told no a lot. And then on those yeses, on those, well, maybe that sounds kind of interesting. Tell me more. Then we can build that relationship and go from there. Because I just think that there are hoopers out there. There are kids that they want to play and they're talented and they just got to find the right circumstance for them to be successful.
Well, there's two things I want to touch on with that. And you've already pretty much brought it up. One of the biggest things right now is the transfer portal. The transfer portal was at a record this year for women between D1 through D3 was at 2,000. For women, that was unprecedented. So right now, there was a graph that went out last year that basically stating that between 25 to 26% of the young ladies in the portal are getting picked up, which leaves 75% of them with no home. So, you alluded to that's your preference right now between you prefer JUCO first, then portal, because when you call those portal kids, that's 75%, they don't have a home. It's humble pie now. There's a coach, what you got? What can we do? Yeah. But let me ask this. So I'm assuming that you're going to come down and still hit some of the independent events and even possibly some of the shoe events, right?
Yeah. So you really hit that right in terms of what the priorities are right now for the 2022s. And I think as coaches, if you're not adapting, kind of the same thing, like you're going to be losing.
Yes.
And so I think as I move into the next classes, my preference would be to find kids that are in junior college, to find kids that are kids. These are, young women that are high schoolers because you're going to build that relationship and have longer. But as we go through this process, it's going to be about the relationship that's built because, like we said, the players are out there. And there are players who right now would, are bending over backwards to get back to me out of the portal because, like you said, they don't have a home. But I think as a new coach coming in, and this might not be totally answering the exact question you asked, but as a new coach coming in, managing the culture and the people is so important. And so So it's really hard balance because we have 8 returners. We have 2 players who signed NLIs with the previous coaching staff who are going to come up. So we've got 10 players, which is just, that's tough. We need some more players. We need some bodies to be able to get through a season. But I also don't want to have to sacrifice the team culture and what we're building towards by just going, oh, we need a body. Let's throw this player in the mix and not know about them.
Yeah.
And so that's really in the 22 class. And then for the summer recruiting, I'm actually going to be, as much as I would love it to be flying back and forth for all the air miles, you know, I'd be the shortest lived head coach of all time. So I'm going to be coming down because our period's wider than the D1s when we can watch, when we can get out to events. So I'm coming down the 29th. And I'm going to be staying with my family, and they're going to be sick of me because I'm down there until the end of the July period, which is the 25th. Yes. So about a whole month, using kind of Southwest Washington as my home base, hitting those EOT events. Those ones I think are going to be big because as much as I would love to go out to, you know, Maine and pull a kid from Maine and go, you're used to the cold. There is that aspect of people tend to try to stay in an area where their family is going to be able to see them. And so getting in that Northwest where our conference is, you know, maybe dipping down into Utah as well, where I just have those relationships. And again, they're used to the cold, but that's going to be kind of what me and my assistant coach are hitting are those EOT events, those smaller events. I think next summer, that would be where trying to get to some shoe events. I'm on a deep dive right now on who has live streams, because just, you know, those D2 budgets, you gotta work the money, work it.
So. I would think, as I'm just listening to you, and you hit it right on the head when you said the live stream, because like you said, that's the new wave of recruiting for you to get your eyes on people from a budget standpoint. I would think something like a Run for the Roses, you'd probably hit the live stream for.
Right. Just there's so many. Run for Roses is such a great event because they pull from the entire country.
Yes.
So when I was talking to some players that I wanted to go see, and I wanted them to see me with the A and the polar bear, they said, oh, I'm going to Louisville. And I was like, oh, shoot. And I'm punching some numbers and going, okay, I'm going to be letting you know that I'm watching your live stream because exactly what you said, you can't go, but it's about, you know, kind of how can we get the most bang for our buck? And there's 2 of us. I've got one assistant. He's not here in Alaska yet, but, you know, he's going to be on the grind on these live streams for us to be finding people and building that database so that when we call them and we have, say it's 40% just off the bat, say, oh, no, I don't think so, coach, then we still have a good pool.
Absolutely. And listening to you, and it makes all the sense in the world. There's another perspective I wanted to ask you about, because it's an up and coming market. It's not quite on the boys' side, but you see it coming, and it's just a matter of time. This prep and postgrad is slowly starting to build on the women's side, women's side. You're seeing the more teams, like IMG has the teams, the NetSac, as you know, has the teams. DME has a great team. Buena Vista has a good team. And we're all talking on the girls' side. And you're starting to see more schools start to become acclimated to this. And I think at some point, like you said, that's going to be a market that you'll probably touch as well. And because, like I said, you have to, it's no stone unturned. You know, for you in recruiting, you have to touch everything. I think definitely, you know, the portal's going to be great for you. JUCO's going to be great. What about international?
So international, like, you know, you hit it on the head with the prep schools because you've got so many more opportunities, you know, and those are ones I'm talking to players who are saying, yeah, I'm going to go do this prep year. I'm going to do that. But the international piece, some of those prep schools pull those players in. So it's an opportunity to really get eyes on them, because my experience at, you know, low, mid major at the D1 level has been just so different than when even my grad school experience at UW. I was there, you know, when we had players coming in from, you know, we had a player from Sweden on the UW team when I was there. And when you're at that level, you get to fly talk about air miles. You get to fly over there and see play. And when you're at the mid-major level, you're relying on film, you're talking to your connections, and that video says, oh, 6'1", and they get there and they're the same height as me, who I'm 5'10" and a half. And God, they got me again. And but so it's just so different. And I think at this level, it's kind of even more kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but almost extreme in the sense of like, there is no chance that from Fairbanks I can fly out and see an international event. Now, if they did something in Vancouver, British Columbia, that'd be great. You know, we could maybe get to something like that, but it's gonna be about those relationships. And so having people in different clubs and different leagues where I've recruited before, you know, from when I was at the D1 level, has been important in terms of them saying, hey, coach, this player is just not getting as many looks as we expected, because I think that's really happening. And that's the COVID year. That's the portal. It's everything, because you've got we thought it was just going to be the 21 class. And now I'm pushing all the way into 23, 24 of really talented kids that aren't getting the looks you would expect them to get. And so that leaves us a big opportunity at the D2 level. You know, our men's staff here, I was chatting with them about a signing. They just signed him last week, and they said, we're so fired up because we expected him to be in the big sky when we were looking at him 2 years ago. So I think that's going to take some hustle in terms of watching the film, talking to those athletes, and building that relationship. And then on top of it, just very different than the level I've been at has been, would be just the difference in finances. You know, D2, we aren't at UAF fully funded. We have 8 equivalencies compared to the 10 that some other schools have. And so that means kind of almost like my background, you know, in the Ivy League as a student athlete, you got to be looking at the very top of they can afford it, or looking at the people who, okay, they're going to qualify for a lot of aid based on their need. I think that just becomes a part of it when you're looking at, okay, is it worth it to spend time building, telling them about this school, getting them excited when they're not going to get the package that's going to make this an experience they can do financially.
Now you walked me right into my next question. So if I'm a high academic and I'm considering Alaska Fairbanks, will a 3.5 get me academic money of some sort?
So yes, it would. One of the things that I've been learning, right? You get boots on the ground and you're having meetings to learn everything, is that the University of Alaska system, which includes, you know, our in-state rivals down in Anchorage, they have quite a bit of academic aid that they can disperse. And so it's something that's relatively new. I know of a couple other schools that have done it, but up here it's called the Nanook Pledge, which is our mascot. It means polar bear. Okay. And so basically incoming students, if they're a first year student, they can sign when they get their transcripts verified. They say they're told they're eligible because they're out of state. Say they're told you're going to get $10,000 a year towards your tuition because you have a 3.9, whatever it is. They are able to sign like a 4-year contract that then that scholarship is guaranteed for the 4 years. Because as is the case with everywhere, like, you know, COVID really affected enrollment numbers. And so I think, you know, they've been really pushing to get both in-state and out-of-state students here that are going to put them in a position to be academically successful. So if you're above a 3.5 and applying to the University of Alaska system, there's quite a bit of academic, you know, that money, that merit money, in addition to having those opportunities for need-based aid and things like that. So, you know, I've been recruiting a couple JUCO athletes that are trying to transfer with 4.0s, and I'm like, oh, let me tell you about this tuition money we have because you're a great student. And so it's been a really unique place to be, where I think there are some places that have the same high academics as us, but might not have as big a pool of that merit money as we do. So,
and continuing on what we're talking about, what is the tuition there? Because I'm mixing my mind, because if I say, hey, Coach Donovan, here's a here's a kid I think may be of interest to you. And since I know you're not fully funded, I already know you have to chop those up sometime to make it work. So what's the tuition cost there?
So if you're in state, your tuition cost annually averages somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000. And we actually on our team have quite a few Alaskans. I think we have the most of any.
7,000 to 8,000 a year?
Yeah, then that's just the tuition. That's just the class.
Yeah. That's still really good.
It's still really good, right? Yeah. And honestly, comparable to like when I was at my JUCO, where I mean it's scaled, but yeah. And then when you're out of state, that pushes up into like 18, 19 just for your tuition. We're part of the Western Undergraduate Exchange. So if you're from these basically from Arizona, north and west, if you're from one of those states, you get like a WUI scholarship is what they call it. And that drops you down to about $12,000 of your tuition. And so when you do kind of books, room and board all together, for everybody, if you're living on campus, that's about another 10,500. So, if you're in state, you're looking at, 17 to 20,000. You're out of state, you're looking at that 28 to 30. And then with that WUI scholarship, that puts you just kind of somewhere in the middle there, which is nice because then it influences my recruiting of trying to stay in this region as well.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then that's interesting because at 7,000 and even taking it to 17, and I'm just going off of numbers off the top of my head. If I'm a 3.5, you give 10,000, and I'm a full Pell, I'm almost going for free.
Right, exactly. And then it's just we just don't have that stipend money in the sense of like those D1s where they have that cost of living. So then it's depending on your circumstances, do you get a work study job? Do you have some family help to get you that spending money once you're on campus? But I also think, you mentioned it, I am a huge proponent, and it's not just because of my background, but I'm a huge proponent of recruiting really good students. And that's not to say I won't make an exception for 25 and 12 night in, night out. I'm not pretending that I wouldn't, but I just think, my players probably would roll their eyes that I'm going to say this, but I always say like how you do one thing's how you do everything.
Absolutely.
And so if you're a really disciplined student, then I know you're going to be a really disciplined basketball player, and if you're sloppy as a student, then can I trust you when we're on that, when we're up 3 on that last possession? Can I put you in on defense, or are you going to mess up an assignment because you weren't paying attention? So I just think there's so many more benefits aside from, right? And then you add on that financial piece for me as a D2 coach going, if I can get a 4.0 kid from Idaho, they might come up here basically for free. And then my basketball scholarship is just supplementing that little bit that's left.
Books, something of that nature.
Exactly.
Yes. And we're on the same page. And then that ties into my next question. Now, I know talent has a lot to do with this, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, player A is, let's just say, a 2.8, 2.9 kid, pretty good, pretty talented. It's going to cost you, as you know. Are you willing to spend on this? Player B plays the same position, 3.9, 5, AP classes, the whole 9. And, I'm touching your background now. So, already dual enrolled, probably going to be close to a sophomore by the time they get there. So, and let's say they qualify for full Pell, and let's say they took the initiative and applied for some merit money and got maybe 2,500 or 3,000 in some merit money. Do you take player A or player B?
It's always going to be that player B, who has taken the initiative. They're showing you that they're invested. They've already shown some problem solving skills, right? Some of those soft skills that as a coach, when there's only 2 of us, I've been on staffs where there's 4 or 5 of us, and there's only gonna be 2 of us, to me, I think we can take with 2 of us, we can take maximum 2 players that we got to keep an eye on.
Yes.
That's a maximum for us here. And then when you consider that, like just being a 2.8 or a 2.9 doesn't make you a headache. That
Yeah,
it
of course. Yeah.
absolutely doesn't. But it's then you're getting into the, have I talked to their, their guardians, their parents, their adults? Have I talked to their high school coach? Have I talked to their club coach? And am I getting a full sense of them? Okay, this is a 2.829 kid who, with some more resources and with some more attention is going to be pushing up into that 3.435.
Yes.
Well, then yes, that kid's a yes. Now, if it's a 2.829 kid that their coach says, man, she's really smart, but she can be a little lazy, and if you're not watching her, she's not doing her work. That to me is just I would much rather have a kid who has to work really, really hard, but has those other skills of their time management, and they're able to ask for help, and they're able to see how their hard work translates.
Mm-hmm.
I would always take that kid, I think, over the one who you go, all right, your potential's here, but we got to keep an eye on you. We got to be dragging you all the time. Okay, why aren't you in class? Okay, why aren't you going to see the trainer? Hey, fill out your application for your housing. It's just as coaches, we have so much that we're doing at all times.
Oh yeah.
That I think when you have those players, like they have to be to me, I think they got to be one of those. Okay, this is going to be the freshman of the year. This is going to be a rookie of the year. This is a transformational recruiting class player when you combine her with the three others that I'm bringing in.
But see, that's being honest, and I respect that, because at the end of the day, it's still a business, and you're in the business to win. And so with you being in the business to win, I just look at this like, yes, you just said it. You can take two players to where, you can keep an eye on, but you just said it. You can't have 9 players on the team where, everybody has to, you say, okay, everybody bring me progress reports. Let me see how everybody's doing. You can't do that, because when you look at this, it's a situation where people have to understand that you were hired to change the program and to win. Let's just be honest. You have to win to keep retaining year to year to year. And yes, like you said, if that 2.8 person is that 25 and 12, well, yeah, you're going to make some adjustments to say, hey, listen, you're going to be freshman of the year, possibly player of the year in the conference. So, yeah, and you might have us in the D2 tournament as well. So I just look at that like, people have to understand that, like, yes, you sometimes make adjustments. Don't get me wrong. But in the same sentence, you are there for school.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, this ball is going to stop bouncing in 4 to 5 years. And it's even less of a percentage that make it to college. And it's even lesser of a percentage that play professional.
Right. Exactly.
So you have to take advantage of that. And it can't be, oh, we're going to coddle to you like your high school coach did because you were all region or all state. As you know, a lot of times you're recruiting all state players. You're recruiting all region players. And one of the most powerful things that was ever said to me is they told us the lineup. And, as they brought them in, they said, well, what were you? Oh, it was first team all district. And they're going down the line. And when you're at the end of the line, you're thinking, gosh, everybody has some credentials. And when he gets to the end, he's like, you understand that all you guys are of that level. So that means nothing to us. It's, it's nice, but once you get to college and you step between these lines, that means nothing.
Right. Absolutely.
And, it's hard for a lot of kids to sometimes take those roles. Like, when you get to college, you may not be that 20-point scorer. You may not be that 15 a game rebounder or 10 rebounds or 8 rebounds. All that may be cut in half or down to a fraction of that. And sometimes it's hard for them to adjust to that. Hence, here come the people selling in the portal saying, oh, if you come here, you can relive what you were doing before. They're only giving you spot minutes. You can play here 25, 30 minutes. Well, unfortunately, they're going to say, coach, thank you for your time. I'm out of here.
Right.
The grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Right, exactly. And the last thing I was going to say, just this is such a cool thing to talk about because I think it's so prescient, like it's what's happening now. The last thing I would say about talking about taking a chance on a player, like I said, maybe there's two players that on your roster that you're like, I got to take a chance on this one because I think they could be that transformational. They check all the other boxes. They're respectful. They show up to class. We're just going to have to help them. But I think you have a responsibility to help those players, right?
Yes.
So if you take 9 players that you're like, oh, I don't know about their academics, I don't know how they're going to do here, I don't know how they're going to adjust to the culture of being in Fairbanks, Alaska, and then you just drop them all in a room and think that all you're going to do is coach basketball, then you're not doing your job. But if you say, okay, I'm going to take this player and I'm going to, she's invested, and what you need to do is, here's how we do time management. Here, let's get you a calendar. Okay, for your freshman year, you're going to meet every week with Coach AD, and we're going to talk about it. And then, second semester freshman year, we'll see how you do, and we'll go from there. Some people go, hey, I'm not a babysitter. But to me, like, you brought in this player that you want to have produce on the court. And if you're not investing in them off the court, then like, what are we doing? What is this job? Just like you said, the ball's going to stop bouncing. And so, my responsibility at the end of the day is to help these players grow. And you have to start growing where they are. Mm-hmm. And you want everybody to act like I do as a 34-year-old, but they don't. They're 18 and they're away from home for the first time. So I think it's just this huge, immense responsibility that we have. And, what could be more important than developing these young people, but by starting where they are when you recruited them. So.
2 more questions for you. So I know you just got there. Are you going to be looking to have grad assistants help you as well?
So that's a conversation. I asked my AD about that, and he said that's a future conversation. Like I said, I felt really good about the administration here. Our AD, Dr. Annenson, has been here. It'll be a year next month, I think. So there's been quite a bit of turnover before him. Mm-hmm. But he has been really, really committed to, making UAF a little bit of a different athletic experience than what it had been in the past. And that's part of it, right? Having some more resources for the coaches and for the staff. So not yet, but, eventually that's part of the game plan.
Got you. And this last question, and I ask everybody this, and, because for people that watch this and then they watch the recording as well, when you go out to these events, what are you looking for that makes you say this recruit is worth me recruiting for Alaska Fairbanks?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the very first thing, and people are lying to you if they say this isn't the first thing. I'll die on this hill. You're looking for talented basketball players, right? So, sure. That's the first thing, right? Like by the bar, can they play a bit? Doesn't mean they have to be that, like we were talking about 25 and 12, but can they play? And then that is such a huge pool of people, right? Because you're at an event. I'm going to be in Oregon City at EOT. Just about every player in the gym is able to play at the next level or close. So then from there, I'm looking for what do we need in our class? In our 2023s, we need, just like everybody in America, we need wings and forwards because, players are hard to come by. Mm-hmm. Okay, do they fit into kind of that basketball box? And then, that's where I'm just like, okay, everybody's looking at that. Then the most important thing to me that I didn't recognize as a skill when I was a player, everybody looks back on their career and goes, I wish I had done this, is that motor and having motor on both sides of the ball. Motor on both sides of the ball. Because now I look back to how I played and I'm like, shoot, you didn't rebound the ball at all. Like, what were you doing out there? You just weren't doing anything. So players that want to defend, they want to run, they want to board the ball, like those toughness skills are probably the first thing I look at past basketball. Are they communicating with their teammates? Are they doing like the vocal, the verbal? Are they giving high fives? What's their body language like? Like those intangibles when they sub out, when they miss a shot, do they put their head down and not play on defense the next time? Or when they miss a shot, do they, go and dig in to get that ball back? If a coach is getting in them, do they respond? Do they look at their coach? Do they say, okay, coach, all of those skills, I think once you eliminate the basketball piece, do they fit our box? Is okay, are they going to play hard? Are they going to be willing to be coached?
Mm-hmm.
And are they going to be a good teammate? And those are those three things that I'm looking for.
Boy, I'm gonna have to clip that right there, because people don't understand the importance. When I sit there and talk to coaches as we're watching a lot of these live events, boy, you hear the word motor at least 20 to 30 times while you're in the event. And like you said, that motor can make you or break you, because as you know, when the coaches say, oh yeah, I love that kid, they have a great motor, athletic, their energy's great, this, that, and the other. But when you hear they're talented, but it's just no motor, they got a bad motor, that's almost a death sentence right there.
Right.
Almost a death sentence, especially because all the coaches are near, and don't get me wrong, a lot of them are focused, but they're also listening as well to other conversations. And a lot of times that could just completely destroy a player when, another coach is overhearing somebody say, oh, she's talented, but her motor's terrible. And it may make you look a little harder, because you may have her on your radar, and you have her on your radar, and you're like, well, let me look a little harder. And you're like, you're right, that motor isn't the best. And then it comes down to, are those intangibles big enough for you to say, well, I can work with that, or I can't take that,
Right, exactly. Is she the one or two that we can put that focus into?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Coach, listen, man, I love this conversation. I could talk to you for hours about basketball. I mean, you hit some great points. Thank you so much for coming on the show. There's some of the stuff I promise you I'm going to take and clip, because people need to hear this stuff. Sometimes they hear it from me and they're like, oh, he's just talking. But, when it's backed up by you guys, I'm like, man, I'm telling you guys, listen, this is important. And when they don't hear this stuff, when they hear it from coaches, it tends to hit a little different sometimes.
Yep, exactly.
But listen, I can't guarantee you I'm gonna make it up to Fairbanks now. I can try and make it to the West Coast when you guys do your
when we're down. Yeah, exactly. When we're in Seattle.
But thank you so much for coming on the show. I definitely wish you the best. And just from a philosophy standpoint, I really think you're going to do well. You have the experience, definitely have the knowledge and the wherewithal to make this, into a culture of your own, to where it's going to be a winning environment. And I myself will be following the live streams to see how you guys do. Well, let me ask, are you guys going to live stream as well, or?
So we're in the process of kind of navigating a new contract, but we do the GNAC. Most schools have some version of a live stream. Right now, we're kicking it old school with the YouTube ones, as we do up here. But for people that have access to Synergy, our games will be up on there as well. So that's going to be very different than being in the Big Sky, where I'm telling my parents, talking them through how to get the Apple TV to ESPN. So
yes, the ESPN Plus.
Yeah, exactly. So
exactly. I really appreciate you. This was one of those conversations where I will point to, listen to this coach right here. This coach is definitely full of knowledge. And even if you're not going to her school, at least check it out and listen to what she has to say, because it can help you in other ways also.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. This will not be the last time we have you on the show. I definitely want to see how you guys turn out after the first year, and we'll revisit how everything went and where you're headed as well, okay?
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much.
No problem. You take care, Coach Donovan, okay?
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Listen, love always talking to coaches that are knowledgeable like that. And, I've always been an advocate for women's basketball as well as men's basketball. And that right there shows you that there are women that are just as knowledgeable as men. and do a great job at putting out a great product as well. With this being her first year, you have no doubt in my mind she'll do some big things up there at Alaska Fairbanks. We're going back to the men's side now, and we're going to the postgrad side. A good brother I met not too long ago, and I definitely wanted to bring him on the show to introduce his program. He's coming out of Chicago at Chicago Prep Academy. He's the head coach. We got Coach Marcus Spencer coming on. How you doing today, brother?
All good, my brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. I'm glad to have you on the show, man, to introduce Chi Prep to everybody. You know, you came down here for Battle of the South, and, you know, you came to Atlanta and turned some heads. So, you know, like I said, I wanted to bring you on, and we got to talking while you were down here, man. So we're going to talk tonight about Chi Prep and, you know, let people know what Chi Prep is all about, what you guys are doing in Chicago, how you're placing kids. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah, this is our, we're going into our second year come July 1st. You know, I really wanted this opportunity for the kids in the Midwest, especially Chicago. We haven't had a prep school or an attempt at a prep school since Lauren Jackson, who used to be a coach at Percy Julian High School. He ended up leaving Chicago and starting Victory Rock. So had to be somewhere about 15, 20 years ago, maybe. So I spent some time down at Hillcrest Prep. You know, I have a buddy who's a director with the Illinois Stars, who also is an investor and administrator with Hillcrest Prep down in Arizona. So spent some time there, kind of got the prep school bug, and was like, you know what, we could do this in the city. Let's do this in Chicago. Let's give these kids an opportunity. So met some people down in Arizona at Phoenix Prep Academy. Yep, my boy John Ortega, Kurt Foss, and Capriati. So those guys, man, I would say were so instrumental and just literally saying, you know what, we're gonna do what we can to help you start this prep school. And they were adamant about just trying to help me, man. I mean, you're talking about just literally giving me the kitchen sink, the knowledge, and everything I needed. Ended up talking with the people with the grind session. They were ecstatic about getting Chi Prep involved with the grind session. But along with that, I said, you know what, we need to do this postgrad, you know, also. That COVID-19 kind of just killed Chicago basketball for a large part, because most people really don't know Chicago public schools is a political machine. So
yes,
you know, when they shut down a gym, you're not going to that gym no matter if you got the keys, if you got the lease, it doesn't matter. If Chicago public schools name is on it, you're not going to that facility. So, you know, to be honest, 22, 21 kids kind of fell behind. And, you know, they paid the price. So my thing was, you know what, let's give these kids an opportunity of a place where they can hold for a minute to get themselves prepped for college. And in doing so, we were able to get Chi Prep started. Dan with the grind session was instrumental in doing everything he could to help me get along, because, you know, I'm good in the sports aspect, but I really wanted this education to be solid with these kids. So, you know, we got our education portion moved and got it in the right direction. Thank God all of my kids made the honor roll except one. So, which was huge for us, especially those kids coming from a public school, because, you know, the first thing with prep school is people want to question the education aspect. So, you know, with that, they weren't able to question it because, listen, like I told the parents of the kids we recruited, our goal is to get them the highest GPA going to college and also the highest SAT score. So that's tough to fight. So with that, you know, it's easy to get them in the gym, but we want to get them that classroom, you know, experience and get them everything that they need to be successful in the classroom. So, you know, it's been a good year, man. I would say I would tease people and say if I knew then what I know now, I don't know if I would have done it. But, you know, like I know when something's meant to happen, you can't fight it. You just got to go along with it. And everything's going in a positive direction. Got some more guys who's joining the team this next year coming up, meaning coaches, trainers, And man, it's a movement. So, I'm ecstatic about this prep school movement. And I just think it gives kids such an advantage nationally over just local and state high school, high school kids.
Man, listen, the product you brought out there, that's when, we just start to really talk. Like, you can see it. You can see, like, man, give some time. This guy, and you're in a fertile ground in Chicago. Anybody that's somewhat even close to a basketball knowledgeable person knows Chicago's a hotbed. Chicago, Peoria, even when you move on down to like East St. Louis and Belleville, there's some very good players in those areas. And, just like when we talked about John A. Logan, if you're a JUCO and you know about John A. Logan, those are mostly Chicago kids, and those dudes come to play. Just like when we talk about AAU, everybody knows who Mean Streets is. Everybody knows that. And, that's a Chicago staple. And with that being a Chicago staple, what you're bringing is the next thing that makes sense. Chicago doesn't have a postgrad, so it only makes sense for you to start this so people can understand, oh, that's the postgrad from Chicago. And just like with Mean Streets, just with John A. Logan, I fully expect it'll only be a matter of time before you'll have people whispering, hey, man, watch that shot prep, man. And them guys can play. But to your point, and I'm a huge advocate, and I speak on it all the time on this show. You said it without me having to say anything, with you being big on the educational side, because like you said, sometimes public schools get a raw deal sometimes, and it's not always deservingly so. It's just a misconception a lot of times. And like you said, you want these kids to be successful when that ball stops bouncing. So with you having the majority of your players on honor roll, that's going to speak volumes in itself, man.
I think so. One of the things that people don't know about me is I was a valedictorian in grammar school. I was a superintendent awards winner with a 4.0 GPA in high school. I went to Ole Miss. I actually went to Alcorn State my freshman year. Lindsey Hunter and I played together there. Okay. Some guys weren't as focused on academics as I was. But the biggest scare of my life was I was on academic probation my freshman year at college. Mm-hmm. So my mother saw my grades my first semester and was like, what the hell is going on with you there? I knew what was going on because I was kicking it. I was playing basketball. I was chasing girls. I was chasing parties, trying to be in a fraternity, all that stuff, right? Those are the distractions of college. But I had to restructure and refocus. So I ended up leaving Alcorn, going to Ole Miss. Ed Murphy, who was a coach at the time, asked me to do a half-year junior college, which is what I did at Coahoma Community College in Clarkston, Mississippi. Did a half year there, and then ended up going over to Oxford at Ole Miss. Best decision I ever made. I had an opportunity to go to the University of Tennessee, and sometimes I look at that as maybe I should have done that. I had an opportunity to play with Allen Houston, but I ended up deciding to stay in my state of Mississippi and playing there. Made great friends there. But the one thing I didn't leave there without that degree. And these kids nowadays are playing basketball. And I really, especially the kids at Chi Prep, I suspended 3 kids at the beginning of the second semester because they weren't up to par grade-wise. Parents didn't like it, took them out of took them out of school, withdrew them, and tried to take them to other programs. Regardless, you're not eligible to play, college basketball if you don't have your 10 before 7, you don't have your 2.3, you don't have that stuff. Why are you playing basketball? Like, you might as well get a GED, try the JUCO route, stay there 2 years and do what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. But my thing is, I want to instill, especially in these kids from Chicago, the passion about basketball, where basketball can take you. Because basketball, that round ball is really a passport to life. Absolutely. It's a passport. You don't need that little blue book with the word passport on it. Basketball is a passport for life. And if kids can grasp that early on, some of my closest friends are in the NBA, and they respect what I'm doing because they really don't have the patience or don't want to donate the time to do it because they know how much time it takes. But, you know, I took on that torch. I decided, you know, that I was going to do it. And I'm doing it for our city. You know, the naysayers are there. But at the end of the day, like you say, we took these kids and we came to Atlanta. We got players, right? We have a high school program and we got our post-grad program. High school plays on the grind session. Post-grad play anywhere and everywhere, and we dodge no smoke. So our thing is, it don't matter if we're big or small. We're going to come out, we're going to play, we're going to be aggressive, and our kids are going to play hungry. We push them to be hungry. Our thing is, we really want them to understand that coaches want defensive-minded players. I'm a defensive-minded coach. I believe in shooting the three, but if you can't play defense, you can't play for me. That's just what it is. So you have to be focused, and then you have to be academically sound. Like, there's a give and take. You know, the beauty about prep school is lenient with education, but it's a gift and a curse. But I'm one, if you're struggling, we're going to get you some support, meaning we get tutors. If the teachers are having issues, they're going to email you. They're going to tell you everything that you need. But my thing is, I want these kids to go to college. I want to go to college. Like, most people know Julio Montez, who played for this past year. You know, he led the grind session in scoring for most of the year. Ended up third on the list. You know, he benefited from prep school. You know, there are a lot of kids that benefit from prep school, and you know, if people just understand what's taking place with this, the amount of travel, and it's only a matter of time before prep school basketball. Well, it's not even a matter of time. Prep school basketball is a global market now.
Yes,
it's a global market.
Yes, it
is. It's global. You know, it's good to play local high school basketball. You could play for a city championship, but who really knows what you did in high school? Who really cares what you did in high school? It's what you did. What did you do after high school? Where did you go? How did you play? Oh, I mean, we got plenty of kids who could sing a high school story and it's like, well, yeah, I played for my high school team. That's as far as it goes. But there are opportunities out here. There are coaches that want players from freaking Atlanta to New York to Chicago to LA to Seattle to Memphis to Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Kansas City, Detroit. There are coaches out there that want players. And if you can play basketball, these coaches are going to bring you in. They're going to give you opportunity. So, I'm embracing this prep school journey. I love it. And I want to make it happen for the Chicago and the Midwest area. Because you mentioned some places before. You mentioned Peoria. Of course, you mentioned Chicago. East St. Louis got one of the best players I've seen in the last freaking 2 years. That McKay Smith. Bruh.
Yes.
That dude is a man child. You know, there are a few kids that are out there that are players. You know, we got a kid, Bryce Hurd, here in Chicago. You know, Chris Riddle has left Arizona campus to come back to Chicago. Like, we have those players. You know, my son, Caleb Spencer, good player. So we're looking at all these different kids, and they want a stage to play on. So this prep school market gives them an opportunity, whether they take advantage of it or not. I'm just another vessel to get for them to take advantage of their journey of basketball.
So let me ask this for Shy Prep. Are you going to play a national schedule on the post-grad side as well?
Absolutely. We already tagged. We plan to come to Atlanta. We're going to definitely go to North Carolina. We're looking at going out to California for a couple of events. So our post-grad, we're looking at scheduling somewhere about 30 or 40 games. Our high school on the grind session, we have 5 grind session events, which totals probably about 15 games. And then we're scheduling a lot of teams in the Midwest. So, you know, we're looking at anywhere between 30 to 50 games for the high school.
Okay.
So we're going to be busy.
So let me just go ahead and put this out here now. A lot of post-grad coaches watch this show. So you're going to get a lot of calls about teams interested in playing you. Teams from North Carolina, teams from Mississippi, teams from Louisiana, teams from Atlanta, teams from Florida. How can they catch you online, whether it be on Twitter, or how can they reach out to you if they're interested in playing Shy Prep?
First and foremost, you know, I'm old school. They can call me 773-615-8255. 9395.
You already, so you gave it away when you said Allen Houston. So we're in the same bracket, if not probably a year or so apart. Allen was a year ahead of me. I was with the Grant Hill class and Jamal Mashburn. So we're pretty much in the same bracket. But when you said call me, listen, I definitely get that. But no, in all seriousness, Postgrad is definitely an emerging market.
Absolutely.
Well, the one thing I will say, and I talk to Postgrads, I know I'm confident enough to say I know probably about 85% of them now, at least.
Okay.
And that's even with some of the new startups as well. What we're seeing now is, it's like you just said it, it's a global market now. It's only going to get bigger. And with the transfer portal and kids, high school kids not having a JUCO or a 4-year college to go to, a lot of them are going to have to develop. And this is going to be, like you said, the vessel to get to that next level. And for you, brother, one of the things I want to definitely point out to you, because you're closer to it, you're probably going to start to get some of those Canadian colleges starting to reach out to you, because that's the next big market that's taking advantage of this as well, that are starting to bring American players over there as well. So, I think you're in an ideal spot to where, yes, you're in Chicago. There's two airports that can get you out anywhere. You can get to Detroit in a little bit of time. As you know, you can get to Milwaukee. Milwaukee has some great players as well. We already mentioned the in-state players. Ohio's not far from you. Wisconsin isn't far at all. You have Iowa that surprisingly has some good players as well. There's some very good players in the Midwest, and as well as one of the better Postgrads in Link Year. Link Year has a very good program as well. Yeah, Link Year is tough. So, like you said, I think that the Midwest doesn't have that many posts. They have a few. And Ohio has, they formulated pretty much their own league now. So Ohio will have their own league. Texas will have their own league. IMG is, I think they're getting a league together where they're trying to have like IMG, Mount Verde, Mount Zion, and a couple of the other big boys. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but there's a West Coast league out there with, I think it's UTU has a league out there, and they've been trying to get with PHH. I don't know if that is, confirmed or not, but now we're to the point, and even with the NetSAC, we're almost to the point where we need to have a national tournament. And I understand Shy Prep is on the independent side right now, but even just like in the NCAA format, we're getting to the point where let's have some regional play-ins to form this national tournament. And I'm going to keep talking that because right now we have a bunch of national championships. There's one on the West Coast. There's two or three down here in the South. The NetSAC has their own thing. Then you have the Geico with Adam Finkelstein as well. Mm-hmm. All of them are really good, but then we get to the arguments on Twitter. Well, I won the West Coast one. I won Phenoms. I won Big Shots. I won Adam Finkelstein's. Let me get your take on that. What's your take? I think let's stop all this talking and just play until we get down to like the NCAA, down to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four. And
I love it.
It's going to cost some money for that to find. But I think in due time, as this product continues to grow, I think you will get sponsors that would be saying, hey, if we can get this on TV and you can get some sponsors behind this, why not?
I think that's an excellent idea. And I say that because at the end of the day, it makes the college coaches' jobs easy. You're talking the best of the best across the country that have an opportunity to say, Coach, you missed me, or you didn't get an opportunity to recruit me. So here I am. This is my post-grad year. You want to say, I need to be bigger, stronger, smarter. I need to be faster. I need to be all these things. Maybe my high school coach didn't get me where I need to be. Maybe now I'm under the right coach. So now this coach has trained me on what my weaknesses are, and I've gotten better at my weaknesses and then even better at my strengths. So I can do this now. Or I've been exposed to this from my IQ perspective because they say I couldn't break down the defense and distribute the ball as a point guard. Or they say I was a poor rebounder as a big. Or I may have a low motor. Coach, I was going through this or I was going through that my senior year. This was happening at home. I have a family member who died, or I may have something that took place that I just didn't have the energy to give on the floor. As much as I love the game, I want to play, but that's behind me now. Now I'm focused and I can get here. This is what I can do to help you win. I just think that gives these kids the opportunity. And then also, the COVID aspect. A lot of these kids are dealing with anxiety and depression coming out of COVID. The public school system still don't know how to acclimate these kids and get these kids back into mainstream and get them back where they need to be. So you're talking about IQ and a mental perspective. These kids are dealing with a lot because they've been at home for freaking 24 months looking at nothing but a computer screen. They can't go out, interact with their friends. They can't play against each other. Only way they will benefit if they had a private gym. And in Chicago, there's very few minorities that have a key to a private gym. So, you just see all those things, and it gives these kids the opportunity for maturity and prove these coaches. Even that for 2 years, the coaches couldn't come out and recruit. So they had to depend on social media. They had to depend on Facebook, all these different things to recruit kids. And mind you, they were still looking to play. And now you got where the NCAA get kids the extra year. It just pushed these kids farther and farther behind. And, you have a kid like Julio Montez who led the grind session in scoring for a long time, and he's under recruited. He's still looking for a Division I school to pick him up. It's just things like that. You're looking at kid Twante Williams, who just signed with Cleveland State, who was at Tennessee, Tennessee Tech. But we always thought he was a little bit, not that no knock on Tennessee Tech, but Twante Williams to me is one of the best moving 6'5", 6'6" guards in the country, especially as a freshman. But you didn't see that. Like, it's a lot of things with these kids throughout Chicago. These coaches weren't able to hit the platform and see these kids, and they depend on the words of guys they know. And some of those guys are not experts with the eye test, and they can pass the name on, but they may be doing favors. My thing is, get out, see the kids, evaluate them properly, bring them back to the head coach, meet them as a committee, decide which one of these kids you want to take, or give them the opportunity to say, you know what, this is a prep school kid. This kid does prep. Let's keep our eye on him for a year or two and see what he does. And I just think that's because we got some young kids coming up the pipeline now in Chicago. E.J. Breland, Bryce Hurd, as I mentioned before, Chris Riddle. That's a lot of kids out of Lamont. Like, there are some kids coming up, man, they're going to be 23, 24s. They're going to be killers. So, these coaches, you can't depend on social media to see these kids. You really got to get out and get in the gyms to really see these
live eyes on them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how we met. That's exactly how we met.
Absolutely.
And I'm a staunch advocate on that. Like, don't get me wrong. I love social media. Don't get me wrong. It's a great tool to use, but it does not replace getting out there in the gym. And I was at 4 or 5 JUCO jamborees. You see me at these AAU events. I'm at the high school live periods. Like, man, you have to see these guys live. I can't just say, oh, well, boy, that edit looks really good, or that highlight film. I mean, some of these guys are really good with some of these highlights and editing. So what you're seeing is not always what you see live as well.
Absolutely.
And I'm not here to tear anybody down. I think it's great marketing when it's legitimate. But, man, like you said, there's nothing like seeing what that guy can actually do live in your face. Because you can't dispute that. Like, when I saw Shot Prep, man, I called you. I was like, man, who's that 6'5" kid? Man, I really like him. And it's just, but I would have never seen him before, just not coming to, like, I could have saw him online, but I might have bypassed him. Like, when I actually got a chance to see him, and he's 6'5" or 6'6", we're not even going to get into that. Like, whatever the height is, that dude can play. And I was like, man, I like that dude right there. I was like, who is that? But again, I would have never seen him. You could have called me like, Coach, I got a guy. We all hear that 100 times. I got a guy, got a guy. But when you actually see somebody, and I'm coming to you like, hey, man, that guy can play. Who's that? And, you know, of course, we sat down and talked, and, you know, we're talking philosophies, we're talking postgrad, we're talking all of that. But, you know, it's a situation where when you see people like that, that's that hidden gem. Like right there. When I saw him, I was like, oh, yeah, he's under-recruited. That dude can play.
Yep.
And, you know, it's people like you that are taking the initiative to get these guys out there in the platform. And, I mean, to be quite honest, that was humongous for Chi Prep to play in Battle of the South. You saw that heat down there. That heat was something serious.
Honcho flew everybody into play.
And, you know, when everybody was looking at, they was like, oh, Chi Prep. You know, the first thing I was like, okay, they're from Chicago. But, you know, our minds, you know, being here in Atlanta, let's see what they got. You know, Chicago has some ballers. And, you know, when we saw it, we was like, okay, respect. And what did I say? I was like, man, you're like one or two pieces away from being really good. Really good.
Yeah.
They play hard. You know, they play the right way. And so seeing you, I was like, oh, man, I got to get to know this guy because probably in a year or two, he's going to have some monsters with him. So I don't want to be the guy that comes to you when you're super good and now I just want to get on the bandwagon. I want to be the guy to be like, man, I remember when you was just getting this thing together. You know what I mean? And I mean, you already have a nice product because that monster you had at 6'6", man, I was like, who's that monster down there? Because there was hardly nobody that could stop him. So I just look at this man like, you're doing some big things and, man, you know, keep doing what you're doing because at the end of the day, man, this is much needed in Chicago. And I'm going to go left for a second, man. You know, it breaks my heart because I have family in Chicago, in Calumet City. And, you know, that violence there is just like anywhere. You know, it's just Chicago gets a bad rap because it gets the national news, man. But what you're doing there, man, for these kids, you're changing lives, man. What you're changing lives, you know, you always got my support, man. Definitely.
Well, you know, the one thing we know is it takes a village.
Absolutely.
So that's the main thing that I'm on because, you know, anything to save these kids, man, like, and the one thing that we're probably on the same wavelength is the fact that people always helped us. So you don't get anywhere by yourself. Like, people can believe if they want. It cringes my soul when somebody says, I did this on my own. No, you never do anything on your own. You can believe that if you want. End of the day, people has always helped me. Good things that happen to me, and I do stuff for people because I want to help, because people help me, and it's passing the torch. So the real thing goes, we're going to link up. We can continue to meet other brothers who are trying to help kids along, and it makes the community better. It makes everything better.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And so for kids that are interested in Chi Prep, can they also reach out to you online as well?
Absolutely. We really don't turn any kids away. I think the one thing if a kid feels that he could play on this level, on this platform, we can find out what he needs to work on to make him better. That's my thing. The only thing that I'll tell a kid, if we can't work with him, is only because he has the me mentality. If you have a we mentality, then we can get it done. Me can't get nothing done.
And that's the truth right there. So, you know, like I said, there's going to be, I'm pretty certain there's going to be some schools reaching out to you because, you know, with you being open to playing that national schedule, everybody's going to want a team from Chicago. That's just what it is. And when you come down here in Atlanta in September, trust me, eyes will be on you again because, you know, it's Chicago, and Chicago has a reputation for good, strong basketball. So a lot of these postgrads are going to want a piece of you. I can tell you that right now. A lot of them.
That'll be my birthday gift. It's my birthday weekend, so you know I welcome it. You know, my mother's in Atlanta. She lives in Decatur area, so
Okay.
You know, it's easy as coming home for me. So, you know, I welcome that, man. I love seeing these kids on the national circuit. I love seeing kids from other areas so I can brag about the kids that I've seen, the type of players that we've seen, the type of players we've played against, because you're only as good as the people you play against, you know,
Definitely.
and you know, if you want to go and say, well, I did this and that, well, who'd you play against? Oh, well, he was on crutches or he's in a wheelchair. Oh, you played a dude in a wheelchair. You know, you're supposed to do that. You know, you don't get credit for nothing in Chicago unless it was that smoke, and you still, dude was sick that day. So, you know, it's always something like that. So, you know, we have to be, you know, you have to validate yourself. And I think the only way you can really validate yourself is traveling nationally, playing against people in different regions, specific, the Great Northwest, the West Coast, you know, the Arizona area. You got the Kansas City area. Of course, you got the Midwest, where that's Iowa, Michigan, Indiana, the Missouri area. Like you know, like Link is probably one of the best programs I've seen in a long time. And you know, I respect what IMG is doing. I respect what Mount Verde's doing. But as a newer program, bro, Link, I love what they're doing. They got one of our kids, Mason, down there this past year. Mason is a dog. But I just like what I saw. I like how they operate. You know, I like the way my man, I think his name is Robert, Arizona Compass. I like the way they're moving.
Arizona Compass, yes.
Yeah, you know, it's some of these programs, man, I just look at them and I just admire them. And like, you know, one day I'm going to get there. You know, I'm not walking around with my chest stuck out like I've created, you know, a freaking spaceship. It's just, I'm trying to latch on, trying to figure it out as I go, trying to build relationships and trying to help the kids the same way they're helping. You know, if we can get our kids in Chicago, if we get these future pros in Chicago to be just that, and they're coming from us, then beautiful. You know, if they fare better going to, you know, another region, then good for them. You know, I know Chicago is a challenge, especially, you know, with our crime and everything that's going on. It's a challenge. You know, I can say that as a parent, me having an 18-year-old son who's going to play for me next year. You know, our concern is safety with our kids, but at the same time, they ain't got to be in the streets. Our thing is not in the streets. We're in the gym. You're in the gym. You got to worry about that. Absolutely. You know, those kids who are in a challenge for safety, they're in these streets. You know, they want to hang in the streets. They want to do this and that. And, you know, our kids are just not there. You know, we're basketball, we're school, and then we're basketball again. So, you know, our goal is to keep kids in the gym for 6 to 8 hours a day. You know, you got 3 to 4 hours of your schoolwork to do, but we're doing schoolwork 6 hours a day. I'm sorry, 6 days a week. So you're looking at 24 hours of class time. You know, during the week, you know, it's no days off. You decide you want to do your classwork on Sunday, you open to that too. You know, we're just trying to, you know, books and basketball is our thing. That's what we do.
Let me ask you this, and I'm always curious to see how postgrads do this. Do you really align yourself with any of the AAU programs up there in Chicago?
So what we did is started our own AAU program. We have the Shot Prep Basketball Club, and we started at 15. We got one of the coaches, Brandon Lomax, who was a longtime coach at Skinner West Grammar School, who coached Amari Bailey, Josh Adamsale, who actually went to Central Point down in Michigan.
Yes.
You know, a few of those guys. So with that, we had Lomax handles our 15s, but we go up from there. So we've had we just decided we want to try to keep our kids with us 12 months out the year if possible.
I like it. I like it. So you're playing on the independent side, I assume, correct?
Yep. But
okay.
I'm open to joining the league. We're open to that.
Yeah, well, now I don't even think you have to do it for AAU. What live periods do you play in?
We do a lot of the independent hoops circuit.
Okay.
So I like independent hoops because they have a lot of shoe circuit teams that participate. Mm-hmm. And you know, I like what they do. Prep hoops, we could take it or leave it with prep hoops.
Yeah.
But you know, Joy Baylor, one of our big grassroots people here, we do her events, supporting her and what she does. But independent hoops that's our July go-to.
Okay. Okay. So another good one out in the Midwest is Recruit Look. Recruit Look does a good job out there as well.
Yeah, Recruit Look did. They came here last month and did one at the Ho Chunk Center at Southland Center.
Yeah, that's my
I
guy,
haven't.
Jarrell. That's my guy.
Oh, I need to lock in with him then. I need to lock in with him.
Oh, definitely. I got you on that. Definitely got
Okay.
you. Definitely. And, anytime you come back here, man, I'm going to point you to On the Radar when you come down here.
Sean, I'm listening.
Yeah, Sean's that guy down here in Atlanta for AAU, anything grassroots. Sean's definitely the guy you want to definitely lock in with. So, you already got, you already got some good people that you deal with. Like I said, you already know Jarrell does Midwest, he does Iowa, he does Chicago, he does Kansas City. So, I definitely lock you in with that. But, when you come back down here, man, definitely come and check out On the Radar. On the Radar is something serious, man.
Well, all you gotta do is point me in that direction. I'm going. So that's easy for us because that's the one thing I like about being independent. We're not pointing in any particular direction for people to tell us you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm willing to try whatever works for us, and we're open to it. I mean, I'm open, and I can't say it enough. Ain't nothing like being independent.
Oh, definitely. Getting to know a lot of these guys. Jim Hicks, Marcus Sloan down in Houston. You got Maul down in New Orleans. They all
Maul's my boy.
Yeah,
Love Maul.
They run quality events, man.
I gotta hit one of his events. That Hoop Fest, the Hoop Fest tour.
Yeah.
I love what Maul's doing down in New Orleans, man. Coaches clinics.
Yeah, the coaches clinics are definitely everybody Maul for them coaches clinics.
I was sick that I missed it this year. Sick. I went last year. My boy, one of my coaches, Brandon Lomax, he went this year, and I missed it this year. But I told Maul, I'm not missing no more.
Definitely, man. Hey, man, listen, man. This was a long time coming, man, since we first linked up, man. And I can't wait to see you down here in September, man, and see what smoke you bringing down here. To give Chicago that name as usual on the Postgrad side, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Your door, you got an open invitation to come in this door, man. Anytime.
Dave, I appreciate it, man. Hey, I really was hoping that we link up and get this done. So, man, I'm really glad you reached out, and I can tell you, I'm excited, man. Can't wait to get down to Atlanta. I mean, I just think us all working together nationally, between all of us, and even though I'm in the Midwest, I'm a real Southerner. Most of the guys know I'm from Mississippi. Yeah. So Yusef is my boy down at Pineywood.
Down at Pineywood.
My boy. So those are my guys. So man, I just figured once we connect all these dots nationally, bro, it could be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I couldn't agree with you more, man. And that's why, when we started talking earlier, that's something that as I've been out in Texas, as I've been in the Midwest, when I went to the Jamboree, the Midwest Jamboree, you can see it. It's just a matter of people coming together to make this something special. Now, there's going to be some headbutting, unfortunately, because, some of the people that have been doing this for years, that's going to be hard for them to, join forces because it somewhat takes away from their brand. And I understand that. But I think at the end of the day, if it's going to be about the kids, I think in the long run, as this train continues to roll, everybody will fall in line at some point because you're not going to be able to have 5 or 6 national champions every year. People are going to get tired of that, and they're going to say, "Why don't you guys play each other?" And
absolutely,
when that chatter gets loud enough, it'll happen.
Yeah, I think, and I tell people, I'm a non-traditionalist, right? I love Kanye West's thinking when he started Donda. Mm-hmm. And we fought tooth and nail against Illinois High School Sports Association about having that Donda game here. But the best thing was they don't regulate us. Yeah. So they couldn't tell us what to do. But what they could do was they had to disassociate the other high school teams that were part of Illinois High School Sports Association. and let them have their own event. Even though it was the same event, they had to break the events up. The people had to leave the building and circle back around and come back to the same building in order to get in to see us play diamond.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But you know what? That type of thinking at some point is going to catch up, because there's other states that are fighting a lot of this prep movement as well. But what they can't fight is the talent. And as kids leave these public schools, they leave these associations, quote unquote, either you're going to fall in line or your product's going to be so watered down, and you're going to watch this movement become so powerful. You're going to have to do something. Either you're going to have to make some type of adjustments to say, okay, we'll let you do X, Y, and Z, but not this. But if not, you know, they won't even play some of you guys, because when they get ran off the court by 35 or 40, it's going to be a problem, and it's going to be a bad look for the association, because basketball.
One thing that we know is college coaches want good basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA want professional basketball players. So that's what they want. They don't care what high school you went to. They don't care that you went to. They want the best talent possible, and they want to know that you've weathered the storm to get to that level as a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so much in place that people are trying to throw wrenches in certain movements to keep people from doing what they do. But at the end of the day, kids get the education, they get the professional basketball training they need. They're prepped to go to college, and they're prepped to go to the league or to Ignite League and to the draft. What is there to talk about? This is basketball. The same way if you have some actor who want to go to acting school, they take their books online, get their their grade stuff online, or they have a tutor who helps them through their homeschool curriculum. And then they're doing their craft all day. Baseball players, golfers, the same way. Like, these people are prepping for their sport. So why are we getting so much pushback on the fact that kids want to play basketball? That's all they're thinking about. Mm-hmm. So they're going to do that regardless. Let's get them the education they need, so we can basically supplement this whole ideology about I want to be a basketball player. Because at the end of the day, when a kid realizes that he's not NBA material, because at some point you realize that, like, I'm just not good enough to play against these guys. Now I got to find something else to do. You know, it's just what it was. Like, me trying to get to camps, just working my butt off. I stayed in the gym, trying to get to camps, couldn't get to a camp, trying to get to Houston Rockets camp, couldn't get to the Bulls camp, couldn't get to no camps. I get to a freaking CBA camp with the Quad Cities. It was cool, but they ain't paying no money in CBA. I got Lindsey Hunter, who's one of my closest friends. When he was drafted, we were buddies. We was at Alcorn together. I was starting the first games before Lindsey. You're talking about a situation that James Huller Robinson, one of my guys, Ryan Lotris, those are all our guys. Chris Jackson, Othello Harrington. That's we all Mississippi guys.
Mississippi guys, yep.
So you're talking about the Filio Green. You know, talking about we all down in Jackson at the Armory, all playing against each other at Jackson State, working out. We stayed in the gym, but at some point it clicked. Dude, you're not gonna make the league. So now you need to find a job, because now you got to start thinking about taking care of yourself. So it just ran out. At some point, when your frontal lobe closes at 25, 26 years old, kids are smart enough to realize it's not going to happen for me. Now I need to look for another career. And it happens. But, women mature faster than men. So they realize what they want to do a lot earlier than us. Sometimes we're so stubborn and stuck on pace that we have certain things we want to prove to ourselves, certain things we want to prove to family members, our mothers, our girlfriends, and we stay stuck on that path for a while, and then it just clicks. You can wake up one morning, it just click. I'm not going to do it, and I'm just tired. And that's what happens, but a lot of people don't understand that journey as a basketball player. Like, that's a journey, and that's just what it is.
Not only is it a journey, but it prepares you for the next step in life as well, because when you have battled and you've prepared and you're trying to get something that you really want, when you get to the workforce, if you apply those same principles, you're going to be fine.
Absolutely.
So, man, listen, man, we could talk for hours about this, man. You know, when it's a passion we both share, man, you know, we can talk about this all day, every day. Man, you know, I'm rooting for you, brother. I can't wait to see the product you put out there, man, whether it be AAU, whether it be prep, postgrad, man, anything I can do to support, man, I'm there for you, man.
You know, I call on you. We working. I got some good guys joining the team this year. Some good coaches, some surprises that people are going to see. Can't put it out there yet, but I think a lot of these guys are getting the whole idea of prep, and you know, they're jumping on board because it's not as regulated as a lot of what's going on with high school.
Yeah.
You know, it's just better. You know, it's better. It's less of a headache, and I just think, you know, it helps these kids' journey, man. So people like you, you know, with interviews like this, the podcast and things that you're doing, I think it helps get the narrative out there where kids really understand it's not a bad idea for me to entertain the thought of prep school. It's not a bad idea.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And we already know it's to the point it's not going to be an option. We're heading towards where it's going to be a necessity, unfortunately, because of the way the system is set up. Because, you know, as I was talking to Coach Donovan earlier, the girls' side had 2,000 in the portal between D1 and D3. The men's side, I didn't even mention this, they have 3,000 this year in the portal. 3,000. And man, and 25% of those 3,000 are going to be picked up.
Wow.
So that leaves us with about 2,100 that are not going to have a home. They may be fortunate enough, some of them may be able to go to the JUCO route, but to my point of what I said earlier, some of these guys are going to have to cross the line and go to Canada and play college ball if they really want it.
Yep.
Because if not, that frontal lobe is going to open up because it's going to be time to get a job quick, fast, in a hurry. And, you know, my motto is, you know, no stone unturned, but you have to be open to that. And like you said, you were trying to get to camps. If these guys aren't going to be open to additional ideas, man, this thing going to end for them real fast.
Yep.
There's really nothing, you know, and that's what this podcast is for. You know, I brought the coach from University of New Brunswick on here, and I want to bring some more coaches from Canada on here because, you know, I'll tell anybody that watches this, you have to be open to everything as we work out this whole post-COVID thing and how it's going to work, because right now 21s had it bad, 22s had it bad, 23s are still going to have it bad, but it's not as bad as 22s. 24s will still have some residual left. So until this is all worked out, and it may never go back to being the same again, because the portal's here to stay. That's just one thing. That's not going anywhere. But it's going to have to open people up to be a lot more savvy on how they want their basketball experience to be.
I think Division II is going to have the best basketball year they ever had in their life. I think it's going to be the most competitive Division II has ever been.
Yeah, but you're stopping right there. Division III is going to be good. NAI is already good. All of these, and then here's one thing I'm gonna mess you up on. People, you know, we're basketball heads. A lot of people only know JUCO D1. JUCO D2 and JUCO D3 is going to be good. There's only but so many spots, so it's going to be a trickle-down effect.
Yep.
So, you know, there's going to put it like this. Basketball, the positive out of this, basketball is going to improve even more on all levels. So that's a positive out of all of this. The negative is there's going to be some good guys that are not going to get opportunities, unfortunately.
It's going to force it's going to force professional teams to scout better.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
That's going to happen. They're going to really have to start scouting these Division III schools, these Division II schools, and these smaller junior colleges, because there are going to be some pros that fell through the cracks, and they're going to have to find those diamonds in the rough.
Mm-hmm. And that's really their job anyway. So to find that diamond in the rough. So yeah, I can definitely see in the NBA, like the professional scouts, instead of them having one, maybe two, they may end up having a team of 3, 4, or 5 in the near future, because there's no way a scout is going to be able to see all D1s, all D2s, all D3s, all JUCOs. They're almost going to have to break it down to level per se.
Yep.
So, and you know what? They may have to even go down. Well, they already have, but I wouldn't be surprised if they start popping up at post-grad events too.
I'm with that.
That's coming in due time. Like, just like they pop up at the prep, at the grind session events, they're going to start popping up at these post-grad events when that really good talent starts to come. And by any means, I'm not saying they're coming tomorrow. It just depends on who's playing post-grad. Like, yes, some of them go to IMG, some of them go to, the NetSac, and, shoot, even Link Year with some of them monsters they got down there. Yeah, they're going to take a peek. Definitely take a peek. But I feel like that whole movement is only going to expand the post-grad brand and just basketball as a whole, man.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Definitely. But man, I appreciate you coming on, man. Pleasure talking to you. For the people that don't know about Shot Prep, I think you're going to know about them real soon, within the next year or two. Trust me on that one.
We own it. Trust me.
Definitely, brother. Definitely a pleasure having you on the show, man. We'll talk real soon, okay?
Absolutely, Dave. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. You take care.
All right.
Coach Marcus Spencer, man, I'm telling you, really good dude, man. At the end of the day, people need to understand, not only am I rooting for him for what he's doing on the post-grad side, but what he's doing in the city of Chicago, and how important it is to get some of these young guys off the street and get them out of trouble and let them realize their dream and get an education. That is so important. And, that's what this is supposed to be about. In his own words, using him as a vessel. People, definitely take advantage. Parents in that area, go check him out. See what he's about. See what his educational part is about. I already know he's going to play a great schedule, and he's going to give you that opportunity. Post-grad coaches, don't call me. Call him, because I know y'all going to be wanting to play him. I have no problem with that. I hope you guys do set up some good things. Like you said, he has some Southern roots. Definitely give him a buzz. Real good brother. He'll pick up the phone, and he's ready to play anybody. That will do it for today's show. Actually, next week is going to be interesting, because it'll be the last weekend of the high school live period. I spent this weekend really all over the place. I was at the Georgia GBCA Girls Live Period, which was the inaugural one. Turned out to be a beautiful event. Next year, D1 coaches can come, but the D2s and the NAIs was there, and it looked really good. I think this is going to follow in the footsteps of the GBCA boys event, which had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, over 100 coaches there. The event this weekend will be even better, because this one's the Southeast Regional one. So you have teams from South Carolina, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee playing in it. So there'll be a plethora of coaches at this one as well. And that's not to say that's the only good event. There's a good one in Texas. There's a good one in DC. Philly Live will be this weekend. Arizona has a good one as well. So they're all building up. And even Alabama had one as well, through the AHSAA. So coaches are going to be there. So June is going to be a very important time for every high schooler now, because it's not just about AAU live period. It's going to be about high school live periods in June as well, because coaches are definitely coming out to that. So next week, we have another great show with 3 good guests, as well as Dr. Haslett will be on as well with her sports medicine piece. So until next Monday, I'm your host, David Jones from Hoops and Gems. You guys take care.